welcome to another episode of Chatty Broads with Becca and Jess.
Well, good morning. Hello, broads. So here's the thing. Becca is taking a well-deserved rest day. She'll be back next episode, but I'm just going to be doing this episode alone now. So you're going to have to listen to me talk and ramble on about every which thing. I'm just kidding. Michael Yo is back in the building.
I am here.
Thank you for being my co-host today.
You know, I know you needed help, so I'm here for you.
I sent out the call and you came.
You
flew all the way from Las Vegas.
I did. In the rain. I saw the Chatty Broad signal in the air.
You know, the CB's up
there.
there.
Yeah, the CB was up there. I gotta come. I gotta help.
I so appreciate it. Well, no, for real though, we have been waiting to have you out and you flew from Vegas.
I did.
I'm so happy. So if any new broads listening, Michael Yo, friend of the podcast, like proper friend of the podcast, amazing stand-up comedian. And you and I have done a bunch of episodes on your podcast together.
Absolutely. The Yo Show, if you're a big fan of Jess, you can check out my podcast as well. But you know, it was interesting when I used to talk about The Bachelor a lot on my podcast, my numbers were super big. And then I got so upset that one season. It was 2 seasons ago. And I go, I can't talk about this anymore.
Which was the season?
Peter the Pilot. I haven't even said that name in 2 years.
You're like, fucking Peter.
After Peter the Pilot's season, I was like, I can't do it anymore because he was so bad and his mom was so fame hungry.
It was an actual mess. I will say this. Since then, Pete has started his own podcast and with Dustin from The Bachelor, who's also his roommate. And now he's been on other shows like Game of Roses, which is an amazing Bachelor podcast. And hearing that now him like having his own space to talk, very entertaining, quite fascinating.
So he's better in real life than he was on the show.
I think so.
See, oh my goodness, I couldn't deal with it. And my numbers were through the roof. When I talk Bachelor, my numbers go through the roof.
People love to hear about The Bachelor.
They do.
Yeah.
And I was like, do I want to really talk about this, invest in it? And then I decided not to, even though I still watch it because my wife loves it.
Yeah, Claire, your wife, she's a fan, huh?
Claire, every time I come home, she's watching it, right? So I sit down and watch it with her. And I know everything that happens, but oh man, it just got to the point where all of reality TV to me is the same. You know, well, Bachelor is different. They have their own, like reality. I'm talking away from The Bachelor. It's the same thing. So let me explain to you.
You also have a unique perspective because of like
the Courtney and Khloe Take Miami. I was in that.
Yes.
I was in the Kardashians. So
yeah.
But also working for Bravo for a brief minute on Bros on Bravo or whatever they call the show.
You're on the inside. The behind the scenes situation. And
I know how they shoot the shows.
Yeah.
So I've been on the other side interviewing all these people. Every housewife show, every reality show. Here's the thing. All the girls are together. 2 girls get in a fight. They go to, everybody says, you got to work it out. You got to work it out. And then they tell them to go to lunch or dinner or coffee.
Okay.
Those 2 go to coffee or dinner. They work it out. But then another name in their conversation comes up. Then the person that said it, the other person go run and tell that lady what she said. Then those 2 are in a fight. And it's just, it's the same circle.
Oh,
that's reality TV right there.
You know, I'm currently deep in Real Housewives of Orange County again.
Wait, that's the one with Heather Dubrow.
Yes.
I love Heather.
Heather's like your close friend, right?
She's
your
friend.
girl.
She is everything.
I have never met Heather. Becca's worked with Heather a couple times and is like, she's fantastic.
You don't understand.
Fantastic.
Like, you don't understand. Like, Heather Dubrow is the coolest woman in the world. We talk all the time.
Yeah.
Like, she'll hit me up. Like, I feel like I'm one of her girlfriends. Like, she'll just hit me up. Hey, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, nothing, just hanging out. How you, Heather?
Yeah.
And she invited me to her house. She always invites me to whatever's happening at her house.
That glam home. Now that she's back on. Let me say this.
Oh my goodness.
Real Housewives of Orange County was tanking. It was brutal to watch the past few seasons. It was just like, there was no more, it was just such a different energy. And then they bring Heather back and I'm like, the show is good again.
And the ratings went up?
Of course.
Let me tell you, I was talking to her before she shot the show, during the show and after the show. And before the show started, she couldn't talk about it on air. She goes, I'm going back on the show. And I go, well, what made you want to go back? And she goes, they said they would. I didn't like the way the show was going, even when I was on it, got too negative. But I believe, and I'm putting words in her mouth here. She didn't say this to me, but the impression I got is they're going to let me be the Heather I want to be.
Oh, okay.
And stay out of the drama. But of course I have to be, she knows, she gets,
of course.
I have to be in some drama, but I don't have to be fueled by it, because some people are fueled by the drama and that's their character. She didn't want to be that character.
Sure. Well,
and there were a few people on the show she didn't want to work with.
Understandably so.
Yeah,
Understandably so.
And she will say
imagine.
she didn't get him kicked out. It was the network's decision to get him out, but she wasn't going to go back to those people.
No, she's like,
out.
I'm not going to be spending all this time. And then I'm then dealing with not just having to spend that time IRL, but then after, when the show's airing, and the Twitter wars that ensue.
That's the thing
Madness.
that blows me away with The Bachelor, is you wind up with somebody and then you get to watch how it got there. I don't know how you could stay together.
I know that would be really tough. That would be really tough.
And here's what's worse. It's documented forever. Your kids are going to see it.
Listen, I'm like, I wish that I did have that documented for Ember one day to be like, look at me in all my glory, honey. But you know what's so funny is that Becca and Grayston, they started a Patreon because Grayston, her boyfriend, he had never watched The Bachelor ever before. And so on their Patreon, he watched it with her. And not only he was obsessed, he loved it. He loved Ari, The Bachelor.
See,
he was like, I love him so much. He was like rooting for him the whole time. And Becca's like, excuse me?
See, and this is not a shot at Becca. It's just, I couldn't imagine like my kid watching me on a show that saw me competing for a guy against other women. But they don't, here's the thing, they don't know. I mean, they know what's happening because they know the show.
Right.
But it's so weird to watch back, and that is documented if you're a winner. It could be, I was young, I did it, that's fine. People do all types of things. But man, it's just when you wind up with that person, like if Becca didn't win, did she see? I don't even know.
No, she was in
Becca
top 5.
won and was with the guy and they got married and they had a kid. I think that's very weird.
It's an interesting origin story, that's for sure. It's a very interesting origin story.
And I'm probably going to get attacked for this from all the Bachelor Nation.
No.
But I'm just saying, for me, to have everything documented where I'm competing for a person, and I guess we always are, but just to see it play out like that.
What would freak me out, I'd be like, that wouldn't, I mean, it would be hard for me. Let's just say I went on the show. I really fell in love with The Bachelor and he ended up choosing me in the end, and then we got together. It would be really hard for me to watch it back for sure, because I struggle with jealousy big time. I'm always working on that. So I'm like, if I had to literally, I just wouldn't watch it. I do have enough self-control that I'd be like, I'm just not watching anything. I'm going off the internet. I'm not watching, and I'm letting our love be the love that it is.
See, that's, I think I would have to do that too, because if I was a guy going after a woman, if I was on The Bachelorette, I don't think I could watch that. I wouldn't want to see my wife now make out with all the guys from her past.
Yeah, it's tough. It's not an easy situation.
It's just weird.
It's not an easy situation, especially when you don't know what's going on behind the scenes with the other relationships, right? So like all you really know is your relationship with her and like your one-on-one date. You don't know what's happening with the other one-on-one date. So all of a sudden when you're like, I would be scared. I'd watch it and I'd be like, why didn't you choose her? You guys have way more chemistry. I'd start like just.
Well, and also I feel like, and this may be ridiculous because it is a show and they didn't cheat on you.
Yeah.
Because y'all weren't together.
No, it's all verbally agreed upon too, right? You know what you're getting into.
If something happens and you watch that show, say in the back of your mind, he's not or she's not being loyal. You'll be like, well, you did hook up with 26 other people.
You're like, remember the show?
Yeah,
and
you
they're like,
remember
no,
the
but
show?
we agreed upon that. And you're like, yeah, but I'm still thinking about it.
Exactly.
I know. That would be tough. I would be what would freak me out more than anything about doing reality TV, because I would love, like, I would love at some point in my life to do it in some capacity. Beck and I have talked about wanting to go on The Amazing Race together because
y'all would be great.
I appreciate that. Lord knows I am so unathletic and I give up. And she's so competitive. She'd be dragging me and she'd be like rock climbing and I would just be at the bottom with a martini and I'd be like, can you figure this out for me? Because I cannot. So that would be fun. Or something like The Circle or something like that. But
I got a call to be on The Circle.
Did you really?
Yeah. The casting person from The Circle, this was like last year during the pandemic, called me and said, you want to be on The Circle? And I go, I've never seen it. But I saw one episode and I was like, no.
Wait, when timing wise was this?
It was last year sometime.
Okay, this is hot tea, Michael, because I almost was on it.
I don't even know what the show is about.
What if you and I would have been on at the same time? Okay, broads, quick pause. So your home should be a place you want to spend time in, right? I myself am becoming more and more of a homebody as I get older, which means having a space I enjoy being in is even more important now than ever before. The one place I can always look to when I need to find that special piece or finishing touch for my space is Jenny Kane.
Oh, Jenny Kane. Oh my God. I love it so much. It is the ultimate one-stop shop for luxury home furniture and decor. If you've ever worn a piece of Jenny Kane clothing, you already know the quality, materials, and attention to detail are chef's kiss, unmatched at Jenny Kane. From timeless furniture to elevated accents, you'll be able to find whatever you need to create the space of your dreams. I love looking through the decor section because you're going to find things like California-inspired candles, tabletop pieces that can elevate the look of any and every surface. And my favorite pieces from Jenny Kane are the blankets. 2 words for you: cashmere, throw. Nothing feels better than wrapping yourself up in cashmere on a Friday night and watching your favorite movie. Talk about luxurious, people.
Yeah, I fully agree. I can say that I feel my best when I am wrapped up in my blanket from Jenny Kane. And I just have to say this, broads, go on the website, browse through. You will be wowed by all the pieces. They are incredible.
Get 15% off your first order when you use code chatty at checkout. That is 15% off your first order at JENNIKAYNE.com, promo code chatty. JennyKane.com, promo code chatty.
Broads, let me tell you, I have been feeling good moving my body every day recently because this past month I challenged myself to really mix up my workouts and it has made the biggest difference for me. I was getting tired of the same old thing day after day. That is the quickest way to count me out. I just get bored, and when I get bored, my motivation goes out the window. But now with Peloton, I think it's safe to say that you don't ever have to be bored with your workout ever again.
Well, that's because Peloton offers more variety than literally any other workout platform. I can't think of one type of class they don't offer. They have classics like yoga, HIIT, of course their biking classes, which are, of course are always an amazing workout. But Peloton also offers you the chance to try something you may have never tried before, like bar, a guided outdoor run, I love those, meditation, or their newest class style, boxing. And even if you've never boxed, you're going to pick up on it quickly. Before you know it, the class is over and you've got a great workout in.
Another reason the Peloton app is amazing is that it works with your schedule. I know for myself, there are definitely days when I have 15 minutes or less to get some sort of movement in. And then there are some days where I have a full hour to myself. Whichever situation I find myself in, there are tons of class options to choose from with Peloton. And you can get started whenever your schedule allows instead of trying to make a set class time. It's a workout that works for you.
Visit One Peloton to learn more. It is such a good deal, guys. The subscription to this app is so worth it. Go to OnePeloton.com. OnePeloton.com.
So the premise of the show is you don't see each other. So you're all locked in your own like individual hotel room, basically. And everyone's communicating over group chat on a big TV screen. So you're trying to like form alliances. You're trying to guess who is kind of catfishing in this situation, because some people go in and they use their own photo and their information, but some people go in and use a completely different, like I could go in and be like, use your photo basically and be like, this is me, my name's Michael, I'm a comedian, da 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 da. And like one person last year, one of the seasons said they were Lance Bass. And then people were like, is it really? And they were, but it wasn't. It was like his assistant. So you don't see each other. So you and I could have been on the show together and not known the entire time that we've been talking.
Well, maybe that's why they called both of us. Because I was on the podcast so much back then.
Maybe.
But what is it?
I wish.
But what is the point of the show? That's what
It's like it's
the last person, how do you win?
It's the final group together. It's like the final four. People vote each other off week by week. And some people are voting people off because they're like, you're a catfish and I don't buy it. And some people, it's just like a social media popularity contest. So they rank each other every single week, like who's the number one slot. And then the top two people who are like the most popular that week, quote unquote, they end up being able to vote off one person.
Oh.
So then the final four finally come together and have a dinner, and they get to see, are you really the person? And then everyone kind of votes on who they believe should be the winner and who played the game the best, or who's the most deserving of it, or whatever.
I'll let everybody know right now. If I ever did that show, I'm going as myself. So if you ever see Michael Yo on that show, it's me. I would not lie about my identity.
If I was on that show and Michael Yo, like, and your face popped up and I saw it in the bubble, I'd be like, I would struggle with that. Now I'd be able to figure it out because I'd do a private group chat with you and I'd ask questions only. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to figure this one out. But I was thinking about going on as a catfish. And trying to like just see and kind of mess around with that. Yeah. It was a couple conversations and then did a couple interviews and whatever but it didn't end up happening.
One of the main people called me and I was just like, no. And I'm with my kids and I was like, I can't leave my wife that long. And
that was a little bit what I was processing.
What is it, like a month?
Yeah, it's like 6 weeks or something
right?
like
that. Yeah.
And I was like, oh God. I'm like, it would be so much fun. And my thought too is I'm like, content for the podcast. Like this would be so much fun to talk about. But then, I'm like 6 weeks. But I was down. They didn't choose me.
They didn't choose you.
Oh. I got rejected.
Oh my God. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I mean, I'm sorry.
What I was worried about is because it's reality TV.
Why do you think you got rejected?
I don't know. I never got a clear answer.
That's interesting. Like, I would think they would want you on it.
I also, in one of my interviews...
Did you bomb an interview?
I mean, I think what I said was good, but I was...
Tell me what it was.
So jacked on coffee and adrenaline. I feel like I was talking a million miles a minute and I was just... I'm like...
You're not that person either.
I'm like, girl, you were trying way too hard. I feel like I was just attempting to be good and it just didn't pan out so well. First one, I was like crushed. And then it just got progressively. I think the closer it came to the idea of it actually happening, I was like, oh man, I'm really married to this idea now. But I was so scared about being gone that long. But it ended up being like, it would have been good timing because Evan, with like the pandemic, he wasn't busy. Like the work was kind of shut down. So it's like he was going to be around. But I was so nervous. That's the one thing with reality TV. Like I understand they can't force you to do anything that you don't want to do. But they do Frankenbite and they clip. And I'm like, I am so scared. What if I come out looking horrible? Oh. And then that's what I'm worried. That's what I was going to say is that's more of the concern for me with a kid. I'm like, I don't want my kid to see mom be a villain on television, even though I'm like, I don't think I'm close to being a villain, but you never know if they decide she's going to be it. I don't know.
So my wife, as soon as we got married, a month after we got married, she got casted on a show. She came in second. It wasn't a big hit, so nobody knows what it was, but it was like, she was gone for like almost 6 weeks, and it was one of those, it was kind of like a spinoff of Survivor, but it was on Fox.
Okay.
I forgot what the name of it was.
I'm like, what was this?
But talking about casting, a guy that I know in the industry was kind of involved in it, and just like every cast, they tried newly married, but they put her with the hot, like single dude.
Sure.
But my wife is so loyal.
That wasn't an issue.
She was like, no, nothing's happening. And I watched the show, it wasn't even close to that. But it's even in casting, like they're always trying to find.
They were trying to see if they could break her in some way. They're like, we're going to try to, yeah.
And then when I was on Fear Factor, the first episode of Fear Factor,
yes,
the pilot episode, I went through the exact same thing. Which is
so wild, by the way.
Bananas.
That you were on the first episode of Fear Factor.
It is crazy.
That's so
the pilot
wild.
episode.
The pilot episode. I didn't know this about you until like a year and a half into our friendship.
Yeah.
I randomly saw a photo and I'm like, is that Michael?
Yeah, they dunked me in a tank and I wore lots of hair gel. My hair stood up and it looked like a squid shooting ink. When they put my hair in, it was like...
What made you decide to do that?
I had no adventure in my life. I was in Austin, Texas, and the ad literally said, we're casting for a show. If you've never done anything adventurous, this is the show. So I was like, why not?
Why
I was a
not?
radio DJ in Austin. So I was like, cool, I'll go in.
Again, a fun experience to talk about.
Yes. So, and I knew how to talk to people and I interview well.
Yeah.
So, I went through like 4 rounds. And then where I messed up was they said, what's your fear of dying? And I put my real fear. If you're ever on a reality show and they ask you questions that could eliminate you, say things that you're not afraid of.
Things that you actually love. Like you're like
sex.
Yeah.
I'm scared of dying sex.
Horrified of it. No, I'd be like, I know that I'm not scared of heights.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, if they're gonna, well, that's not true. If I had to do certain things,
but you would
for
say,
example, I'm like, yeah, heights. I'm horrified of it.
So it must have been pretty much everybody. My fear of dying is underwater, like drowning. So they dunked me in a tank.
Of course they dunk you.
And I should have said something different,
Oh,
like heights and stuff like that. Like I wasn't scared of that kind of stuff. But we ate sheep eyeballs, yeah.
Damn.
But I went through that process, and you do every round you get. When you get closer, you're like, oh. Now you're married to the idea, and it's disappointing when you don't get it.
Oh, for sure.
But I'm so shocked that you didn't get it because I thought you rejected it when you first started telling stories.
Oh, no.
I thought you rejected it.
Oh no, Michael, I would love to be on reality TV.
Really?
Casting directors. The broads know I'm always like, casting directors, anybody hit
Do
me
you
up.
put it out there? Or is this your first time really putting it? Because
That was my first time really putting it out there
Right
where I
now?
was like, oh, you mean act proper saying it? I've joked about it before.
Look, I guarantee you after this podcast, you will be, mark my words, what is today? March 28th. Within a year,
12:54 p.m.
Within
Pacific.
a year, you will be on a reality show. You will disappear from this podcast for like 6 weeks.
And people will be like, I don't know what people. There were some broads who were guessing that I might be participating in the circle. So I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry that I failed you. But I would love to, and I'm sure I'll make an absolute fool out of myself. But really
that's
don't.
what's great.
Yeah, but I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. I'm like, I don't want to be the villain. I don't want to make anybody feel bad. But I don't mind making a fool out of myself. I really don't care about that.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. I don't ever, like when I do stand-up, I tell jokes about myself and I never go after people. So that's the zone I like to be in. But,
Yes.
to each his own.
Okay, speaking of your stand-up comedy though, you are here, Michael, with a brand new special.
Yes.
I never thought that. It is so good.
Thank you.
So good.
Thank you. It feels so good that it's out. It's called I Never Thought because it's things over the last 2 years for me almost dying, for having a baby girl, to just my life. Things I never thought I'd see happen in my lifetime that we're seeing happen in our lifetime. And I put it out on my own. I funded it my own. I spent my own money on it. And it comes from the people inspirational in my life, like Joe Coy, from other successful comics. Like, you got to bet on yourself. And my 2022, after surviving COVID, after that after my bad experience on it was like, everything I do, I need to bet on myself. So that's what I did with the special. And it feels so good because YouTube can be a vicious place of comments, and every comment is through the roof.
Oh, that's so nice.
When I say through, like, I've never laughed so much. I laugh from beginning to end. I'm like myself. I'm so proud. It's the best work I've ever done. And it's already starting to blow up. It came out last week. It has over 25,000 views. But all my socials, like YouTube, I use it as my YouTube as kind of like, I hate to say this, but a dumping ground. I didn't really pay attention to it.
Sure.
So I had 2,000 people on YouTube. In like 11 days, I got over 10,000 now. So it's growing.
That's amazing.
People are finding my podcast now on it, and my stand-up clips have millions of views. And this is all happening in the last 10 days after the special came out. So
from betting on yourself.
And that's my message to everybody. If you're in a terrible job or you're in a place where you want to get out, I don't tell people to quit that job because you need money.
You're like, don't
don't
quit.
You know, some people are like, just leave and go for it. No.
Make sure
We all
you
got bills. We all got bills. So stay in that job, but also work on that other thing and bet on yourself. When you make enough money and you're ready to leave, bet on yourself. In just 11 days, I know it was the right move. Like, just actually after the first 7 days, I was like, this is starting to already pay for itself. And it's only 7 days in. And I'm already making great money off of it to pay myself back from it.
That's amazing. Yeah. When you were saying that like your stand-up comedy is about yourself, that's one of the things that I loved about this special so much, is that it was like so personal.
Yes.
And I love that you were talking about all these personal stories, and you got deep into your whole horrific situation with COVID and all of that. And I loved it so much. You know what I love too? Obviously your first special was fantastic.
Yeah.
But the intimacy of this one I love that I'm noticing that Michael is sitting on that stool. And I love that you made the choice to sit on the stool the whole time, because it felt like it was like a story.
Yes. And
it was a story time, and you kind of sucked you in.
Well, I feel like my first special was when I first started comedy.
Yeah.
So it was greener. And then you grow. Just like if you went back to your first podcast on this, on Chatty Broads.
You know, we released we hadn't ever released our very first episode. And we did somewhat recently. And I listened back to that and I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
I can barely stand the sound of my voice in that episode. This is terrible.
But then you grow and you get better. And this is the one where I'm writing new stuff for my next one. And I think, you know, like every comic, when they come out with a lot of specials, they always have one that's going to be their favorite. And I already know, no matter how many specials I put out, this will probably be the best one. Because literally from beginning to end, it's nonstop laughs. And it's hard to do that. And, and especially when you're sitting down, no movement, and just being funny. And I felt like my material is getting to the point where I don't need to move a lot, because it actually takes a lot away if I was walking around. And the stories are so intimate, you know?
I loved just, the stillness of it. And you just get sucked in. And it was like, oh, half an hour gone. I was like, what? Oh my God.
My dad, who is the biggest critic, is like, he calls me up and goes, man, that went too fast. He's like, I wanted more. And he goes, and I go, that's what I wanted. I wanted people to watch it. And as soon as they look up, they go, what just happened? It's over.
Absolutely. There's no better feeling to me than when I'm seeing, whether it be comedy, whether it be a musical, like I don't care what it is, when the show ends and I'm like, I need a little more of that in my life. That's the best feeling versus, oh my God, it's great. And then you're just checking your watch. You're like, oh God, it's been like
forever.
Okay, it's been an hour, and I feel like, okay, it's time to wrap it up. And it just kind of keeps going. I'm like, the best feeling is when you're like, okay, I need more of that. I want to rewatch it or whatever, you know?
It's just beautiful where you can come in, you can go through, here's the thing, you can go through something awful. And then if you make it, you can see the other side and how beautiful it is, and how you come out a better person, a better human, and how you love life even more. And that's what it's all about.
Does it make you feel nervous to be super vulnerable and share personal stories publicly like that?
It does, because when you fund it yourself, you just hope it does well. You just hope, because after I edited it with Taylor, the director, and we went through a bunch of different cuts, personally, I knew it was great. Like, I was like, this is great work, but will people watch it? You know, it's kind of like, okay, I've done my part. I gave them a great special, but will they watch it? And they're coming to watch it because, you know, with podcasting or anything, you build, and then all of a sudden you hit that algorithm and boom, it starts to shoot up. Like, you'll go from X number, slow build, and then it starts, wait a minute, it starts just moving and moving. Yesterday it started that. So I'm starting to see it just start blowing up, and it just feels so good that the comments and, you know, how people just like, it just means a lot.
Of course.
It just means a lot.
Well,
and then the broads come out to my shows all the time.
That makes me so happy. I love when I get
all the time.
I love when I get tagged or I get a message from you and you're like, they're wearing like some Broad Squad merch. I'm like, yes, it makes me so happy.
Yeah, it's an awesome feeling how, you know, one thing great about podcasts is they give back to other people. You know, every guest that comes on this podcast, there's a new audience that gets to see them, and anybody that's on my podcast, there's a new audience that gets to see them. So it's very secular. And before the industry was very, no, I'm looking out for myself.
Okay.
Podcast has made it where you can still have that mentality, but you need people on your show to be successful unless you're just great by yourself.
Sure. Well, that's the thing. I remember when I started listening to podcasts, I started listening to comedy podcasts. And I loved how everyone would bring in all their comedian friends. I'm like, oh, and then I discover this person and their podcast because of it. And all of a sudden I have a roster of like 15 that I'm listening to that I started out with one because there's this great like symbiotic relationship that's happening. But yeah, no, I mean, the broads you need to check out the special. Obviously, it'll be.
It's
the
free
link will be in bio.
it's free. And I also wanted to provide, because my last one was on Amazon, so people had to buy it. And I felt that that takes a lot for people that don't know you to say, I'm gonna spend $14 on it. Sure. But this, I was like, there's no excuse. And it's great. So it's free. Go get it. Go watch it. Leave a comment, because comments and the thumbs up does a lot on YouTube.
It helps,
It helps so much to get into that algorithm where other people see it. So yeah, it just feels good. And then I'm on tour and everything is going great. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Like my family's great and gorgeous. And it's so amazing that I might have not been around to see them grow up. So, like to reach 5 and 2 years old. And that's what blows me away. Like the biggest thing, people ask me, were you scared of dying? I'm like, no, I was scared of my kids not knowing how much I loved them. That's the scariest thing you ever can encounter,
Yeah.
So, but we're on the other side, girl. We're making it happen.
So now you're on tour.
I'm on tour. Everything is at michaelyo.com. So I'm going to be in, where am I this weekend? I'm in Dallas, Addison. And then I'm finally get to take a 3-week break. And then I'm in Milwaukee and then going to a bunch of cities I've never been to. Okay. So it's just starting to,
That's so good.
It's becoming crazy.
But you moved to Vegas now, and you were saying that Michael was raving about Vegas before the podcast started, but you perform at Vegas all the time, which is so fun because people then who, listen to this podcast and all the different podcasts that you've been on are like, oh, we're going to go visit Vegas. This is the time to go see Michael.
Well, I met a lot of your broads in Vegas. They go, we heard about you, and then we're looking at the entertainment and we see your name, so we come to the show. And I'm at the legendary Comedy Cellar in Vegas, which in New York, they're everything. Yeah. And then they opened up a venue in Vegas, and it's the hottest club in Vegas. And I'm here today. I flew in. I'm flying out and performing tonight in Vegas.
Oh my God.
I do it all the time. And then this Thursday, I do it every night. And then I fly out and perform in another city and come back and do it because I love comedy that much. But also Vegas, people think about the Strip, but it is unbelievable family-wise, how many parks they have, how the people are nice. Everybody just kind of minds their own business. The neighborhood we're in, all the kids play. I honestly told my wife the other day, it's everything I ever dreamed of. Family-wise and work-wise and live-wise. It's everything.
I was in Vegas this weekend.
Oh, and I was out of town.
You were out of town. But it was a friend's birthday that had been planned for quite some time.
Okay.
And he had like the itinerary down. He had his sheet with like from time to time, like we had our full schedule of what was happening the entire weekend. And I hadn't ever really been to Vegas as an adult. Like I'd gone numerous times with my parents when I was really little. So it has been a year since I went. And I'm like, why in God's name have I not done this before? Granted, I'm still recovering. I'm like, I'm gonna have to take a minute before I go back to Vegas.
But see, a lot of people in Vegas, they think it's just a strip, but it's way more than that.
No. And I've like people like you and other friends that I know who have moved to Vegas, they love it. They're like, it's fantastic. And obviously there's much more to it than the Strip.
What's the craziest thing you did when you were out there?
Okay, well, God, there was a lot of stuff. I think the wildest time was the birthday boy. He bought a cabana at the pool party at the Encore. And it was like the opening spring weekend. And so it was
Bananas.
absolutely bananas. Like it's been a long time since I've partied like that. And I was like, I'm going to need 17 IVs and so many weeks to recover. But the most fun, we ended up going to we went to I like the lobby bars. They had like the piano bar in the lobby. And there was just a few people there. It wasn't packed. And we started to play a solid game of truth or dare, but it became dare or dare because you can't do truth in a Vegas bar. And so we were just.
What was your dare? Can you say?
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. It was so embarrassing.
What is it?
So, like I said, it wasn't packed, but there were enough people there. And so they told me that I had to go up. There was a table of 2 couples at like a round table right near us. And they're like, you have to go up and just sit with them. That's what I thought they said at first in the middle of their conversation. And so I'm like, fine. So I just walked over. I drag a chair and shove it in between the 2 couples and just sit down at their table. And I'm like, can I join? And they were very uncomfortable. And they're like, sure. Okay. And then and they had told me I have to be there for the entire song that was being played, like a 3-minute song. So I'm sitting there and then I get a text from them behind me, my friends, and they're like, no, we said you have to go sit under the table. So then I'm like,
what?
Fuck. So then I look at the girl next to me.
Are you wasted right now?
No, I'm not. I look at the girl next to me and I'm like, I'm just going to go under the table for a minute. And I crawl under the table and like am in a ball underneath the table for 3 minutes. And I'm just like sipping my champagne. And like a minute and a half in, one of the girls finally looks under the table and she's like, are you okay? Do you want some company? And I'm like, I'm okay, I'm good. And I'm just drinking under the table.
You didn't spill the beans of what you were doing.
I did later in the evening because I'm like, don't worry, you're safe. I'm not gonna, you're safe.
Don't worry,
you're well,
safe,
you're
right.
well. And so I told them later in the night, but then everyone, like half of the bar started to catch on to what we were doing. So then they were cheering on what was happening and the other half had no idea. So one of the dares was I wrote a love letter from one girl to the guy who was playing the piano, a long love letter. And then the end of the love letter said, if you feel the same way, play Toxic by Britney Spears. And then she had to go over and then he played Toxic. So I might have,
Look at that.
set up a love arrangement.
You never know.
Felt pretty good about it.
I couldn't do that game.
Really?
I get so embarrassed.
Okay.
I get so embarrassed.
That is so surprising to me. I'm like, you go up and you're performing stand up and I'm imagining it's stand-up comedy. Like you've bombed before, correct?
Absolutely.
Like how do you feel walking away from that?
Oh, you feel horrible. Like comics won't look at you. It's the worst.
What was the worst?
It's like a walk of shame.
What was the worst?
Well, it was a college.
Okay.
But I didn't want to be there.
Colleges are tough too,
Well,
right?
they're not tough. It's just I have nothing in common with them.
Okay, sure.
And I was just over it. So I was like starting the show and it was about 10 minutes in. And this fucking kid, dude,
God.
raises his hand.
Some frat boy
or some raises his hand and goes, hey, when are you going to be funny? And and
I would crawl into a ball and start sobbing.
I looked at him. I go, you know what? You're right. I don't want to be here. And I just left.
You just walked
off.
Oh my, no, that is not a bomb. That is a triumph. That is some middle finger.
I said, I don't want to be here because I can't relate to you little fuckers and I left, man.
I mean, that's triumphant to me, though.
Is it? But
it's
I mean,
but
I just didn't
but
feel
you
it. I didn't want to.
Terrible.
Yeah, I didn't want to be there. And it's so much money they pay you to go. But they paid me an absorbent amount of money to do 45 minutes colleges. And when you hate it that much, you can't even stand them for 45. Let me tell you, this is what changed it off for me. There's this show called NACA.
Okay.
And NACA is where college acts go to get booked at colleges. Because colleges have huge amounts of money for entertainment.
Right.
And they have to spend it.
Right.
So I'm at this NACA performing. I do well. Liza is there too, the comedian.
Sure.
So I'm there. And one thing I notice is kids that are like 16, 17 years old control this money. And they're telling you
that is so
your
wild.
value.
Oh God.
So this kid comes up to me. Uh-huh. And this is when I quit. I left that, but the kid comes up to me and goes, well, I'm looking at our numbers and like this is
You're already just like,
17 years old. This girl's 17 years old. She goes, and we just booked Eliza. And we're looking around, but if we have money, we'll book you too. Like in a snooty way, right? Because the managers of you say you need to like not kiss butt, but cater these because they book you.
Sure, of course.
And this was a big college. And I looked at my agent and I go, what have I done in my career where a 17-year-old kid controls my destiny? I said, I quit.
Yeah.
I can't, I worked too hard for a 17-year-old kid in college
when you're like,
to determine.
the amount of time and hours and years put into this, and now I'm having someone come up to me and being not
someone. A kid in college going, you might be good enough.
You might want to work on that middle bit a little bit. Like, I felt like there was a lull. That's my suggestion. We'll call you, don't call us. You're just
exactly. And I'm like, oh no, I can never do this again. And that's when I quit. I was like, I can't. I've worked too hard to have people I don't respect. Like if I respect you and you give me a note, that's fine. But if I don't respect, and it's not like I disrespect younger people, but I disrespect these people that control this money that use it as power.
Yeah, as a way to like kind of like look at you and be a little bit like, I'm having a power moment right now and I'm going to make you feel smaller.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. And I can, because we deal with that anyway in Hollywood, but to deal with it from a kid that goes to, I'm just making up a college here, wasn't it? But like Arkansas State or whatever.
You're just like,
I was
no, and that is a proper boundary to set up where you're like, I'm not going to allow this to happen anymore. I'm just not going to put myself in this situation.
And that's what I did. I took myself out of that situation. I was miserable anyway doing it. And then when that was just my breaking point.
Yeah.
And she. I mean, if you could typecast a snooty, a-hole college kid with power, this girl was it.
Oh no, a sweater around tied around the shoulders.
Every movie that the bully is in, but snooty person.
Yeah, that was her.
That was her. Mean Girls.
You better watch this special, girl. You better watch it and weep. That's what you said no to.
Oh my! She didn't say no. She said if she had enough money.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I still get angry about it.
Oh sure, I would rage.
I'm fired up right now.
I understand that's the type of stuff that keeps me up at night. If you wonder what I'm laying about, like thinking about in bed. Oh yeah, I grind about stuff. It's not good.
You read comments, don't you?
No, not anymore. No. I had to stay away from it.
Post and ghost.
I had to post and ghost because, you know, what started to happen is when I would read too many and it would be like, listen, I always say this. I'm like, I want to learn. I want to grow. If I need to get called in about shit, then great. 100%. But we're talking the comments about like, you're boring, like you don't have anything to say. When I would start to read those, then all of a sudden, guess what would happen? I wouldn't have anything to say because it'd be so in my head. I'm like, I got nothing in me because I'm just so paranoid that I'm saying something and I sound ridiculous or that I'm going to say something and then like that person's going to comment. And then I go, what does it matter? If they think I'm boring, then I feel bad that they're wasting their time listening to someone that they think is boring.
Well, that's the whole thing is they have to listen to it to comment on it.
Yeah. I'm like, you like it a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. You know, they like it. They like
me a little bit. Or you like to be annoyed by me a little bit. It's okay.
Of course. But I get that in stand-up. I mean, this new special, I had maybe one bad comment, but it wasn't even a bad comment.
Which is wild, by the way, that you just get one bad comment.
And it might not even be off the special. Maybe another clip I saw or something. But somebody says, why do you always got to talk about yourself? Like that was the negative. Well, because I'm myself. Like,
and just a zoom in of you being like, well, it is me. Well,
I talk about my life. Like people, I don't know. I could get into this big thing, but it's just people really don't want to hear. Certain people don't want to hear about race because some people go, well, why do you always talk about race? I go, I don't talk about race. I talk about my life, but I'm multicultural. I married a white woman. We have black, white, and Asian kids. That's what we are. I talk about my life. It's not race, it's just what I am, you know, but there's a certain type of person in this world. When you say anything about color, they go, why you got to talk about race?
And you're like, because it's important. It's my experience.
It's my experience.
Yeah.
It's just like, I would never, And there's a type of person that says this. And I don't even have to say what they look like. But everybody listening to this podcast, and it might be some people, it might be them. You know what you look like. And everybody that doesn't look like that, you know what they look like.
So you're just like, block.
Oh, I don't block. I leave the comment. I don't care.
Yeah.
No, because if you block, then they'll make fake accounts and then write more. It just fuels them to do more. So I let their comments stay. And then most of the time, your loyal people will go after them, which I don't advise. I mean, don't get into that. Don't. And then I did one. I said something when I was young, like when everything started to take off. I said something, then all my, I don't want to even call them fans, but supporters got on this person. And then they were just filling up my feed. Just everybody was going back and forth. I'm like, how do y'all have so much time to do this? Like, I have a hard time just posting. No, I don't have the energy.
I know. I deleted my Instagram app for the past week.
Did
Can't
you?
do it. Yeah.
Look at
I just deleted that app. Well, but then I got to go post, and then, like you said, post and ghost.
But you post and delete the whole thing and then go back and post again? Because, my wife does that.
Yeah.
My wife, and she just does it so she can focus in on the kids. She'll, in the morning, erase it.
Yeah.
And then put it back on when they go to bed.
See, that was the thing. I was catching myself kind of in this spiral of I'd open it, and then if I'd have Ember with me, and instead of hanging out with her, I'd be caught up in something. And, I'm just I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even know, at this point, I don't even know whose Instagram account I am on and what I am reading.
You're just reading stuff.
I'm and I have my little human being in front of me who I should just be hanging out with her and spending time with her because it goes by so fast.
How crazy is it with social media and Instagram? We are looking at other people's families and not paying attention to our own family that's in front of us.
That's a mic drop moment right there.
Right?
Uh-huh.
I'm watching your kids and you, but my kids are right here.
I'm going to delete my app again right now. I'm going to delete that app.
Right?
It's so true, though. And it's so hard. It's so hard not to get caught up in that. It's so hard
also,
not to.
My wife I'll be on the phone sometimes, and we never get on each other about being on the phone. Mine is strictly, I don't even look at people's feeds. I'm very good at just looking at my own feed.
Is that why you're so joyful, Michael?
Yeah, I just look at my own feed.
Okay, broads, one more quick pause. So when I was in high school, it was the peak of the whitening strip era. If your teeth were not blindingly white thanks to enamel stripping chemicals, then apparently you were not it, and predictably so, my teeth have been paying for it ever since. I have the most sensitive teeth now. It's so much so that ingredients in just regular old toothpaste can even cause pain, which is why I was so excited when a friend of mine told me about Lumino. They are the first line of oral care products that I can use pain-free.
Well, that's because Oral Essentials is basically taking a totally different approach when it comes to creating products that improve your oral health, because they make everything from toothpaste to mouthwash to whitening products that all use purposeful and uncompromising ingredients like sea salt, aloe, coconut oil, and all of their products are free of harsh chemicals and bleaches, and they're certified non-toxic.
In fact, you know it's good because each of Lumino's formulas are created by a team of dentists and backed by over 50 studies. Plus, as an added bonus, Lumino's products actively work and are proven to protect the good bacteria in your microbiome because they don't contain any harsh chemicals. So while you brush your teeth, you are also giving your gut a helping hand. Like I said, I've been using and loving the entire line of Lumino products because they work to keep my mouth fresh all day long and improve my oral health. But I never feel any pain or sensitivity that I often do with other big brands, which is such a relief.
Find Lumino on Amazon.com and get $7 off today. That's LUMINEUX. Remember, it's with an X, so you can X out the harm. Lumino, dedicated to illuminating better ideas in oral care.
So there is no doubt in anyone's mind that we are all on 24/7 information overload. Between all the social media platforms, the news, it can be really exhausting and also confusing. Probably 3 out of the 5 videos that I see on TikTok, I watch and then question if anything I just watched is true. All social media should come with a personal fact checker for each user. Okay, obviously we can't have that, but there is something pretty darn close, and that is Nikki Boyer's podcast, Call Me Curious.
From health and pop culture to relationship news, Nikki dives into all the things you definitely heard about but you don't really know about. So some recent topics include things like, is it true that you can't die in your dreams? I have actually never thought about that question before, and now I am going to sit and ponder that for a while. And go listen to, and I'm going to go listen to the podcast too. The podcast is equal parts informative and hilarious, and you'll always end the episode feeling like you actually understand the topic.
I am so very guilty of Googling things under the table at dinner parties or in meetings to give myself some background if a topic comes up that I don't really know much about. I think maybe we all are, whether we want to admit it or not. No one wants to be the person with nothing to add to the conversation, right? But thanks to Call Me Curious, you'll never be that person again. Nikki will help you sort fact from fiction, make sense of all the information available to you on a daily basis. Listen to Call Me Curious on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you listen, and you can listen early and ad-free by subscribing to Wondery Plus in Apple Podcasts or the Wondery app. Okay, but I want to ask you, so you said you get embarrassed.
All the time.
Okay. So, but then you did, like, you were down to do Fear Factor.
Yeah, but it's different in a control. Like, when I can control it, I'm not embarrassed.
Versus if I was like
because
Truth and Dare out in the wild.
Well, here's what I'm scared about. I'm a black guy.
Yeah.
I'm a very big black dude. Me approaching people, getting under their table, it's a very different. You're beautiful. You look good. It's different. You know, like, can you imagine me walking up to a table of 4 saying, I need to get under your table?
Yeah. No.
Like, it could turn wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I'm not using the race thing. I'm just saying
but that's some privileged shit on my side where it's like I can do that and I can get under and without a thought of any sort of like, oh, they're going to get, I'm going to get kicked out. Like, I didn't even think in that.
See, you didn't, like me, I could get put in situations where if I make somebody uncomfortable, it could get really bad because they'll think I'm a threat, and in Vegas it's open carry. You know what I mean? So I think about all this stuff, so that's why it's kind of like I only do things and plus I get embarrassed easy, but I only do things in controlled atmosphere. Like I will go on a TV show and they say, act stupid, act silly, embarrass yourself. No problem. I know nothing's going to happen to me. On my podcast, no problem. On stage, no problem. In open environment like that bar, oh my God, I'm petrified. And I'm shy.
And you're shy.
In that situation. Like I couldn't imagine, even if I was cute like you, getting under a table. You know what I mean? I couldn't imagine. If I was a girly girl, I couldn't imagine.
I'm just, when you say you're shy, you just never know. That's the thing. That's the thing about, that's always so interesting. But I'll say this though, in person, when you meet you do not, it's immediate.
But you're not telling me to get under a table.
That's understandable.
Like if somebody said, okay, you're going to meet the Chatty Broads, and as soon as you go in, crawl under the couch. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it.
Just like Mike?
I'm like, you can't do that.
I would just hand you a microphone and be like, all right, we're going to do it from down there. That's fine. That's fine.
Hello. I just want to say I love the show.
We're going to mix it up a little bit today.
Right?
Yeah, but okay. So I was going to ask you about, so you're performing in Vegas.
Yes.
You're going on the road.
I have a brand new TV show coming out soon. We don't know the date yet, but I did it with Bonnie Hunt, the legendary Bonnie Hunt. It's going to be on Apple. She directed it, wrote it, show-runned it, and I was on set with her. It was such an amazing thing. It was like a masterclass. I would watch her give notes to people, give notes to me. Sarah Drew from Grey's Anatomy is on it. She played April Kempner on Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, yeah.
She plays my ex-wife. And then Darren Brooks, he's on, I believe, General Hospital. He's so funny and great. And then Ashley Williams is on the show, and she's a great actress. But the girl you need to look out with is our daughter. Okay. And her name is Carson Rose in the show. She is only 11 years old. And I'm making this prediction. By the time she's 30, she'll have an Oscar. The girl is phenomenal. She has the look. She has it. You meet people, like your daughter has it. She's just a fire. She just has whatever that is. She's
got that spark. Lord knows on a set, I don't think it would pan out so well.
Yeah. But this girl, oh my God. It's like, it's unbelievable. Her name is Carson Rose. It's unbelievable how great she is at such a young age. The girl is a superstar. Carson Rose, remember that name. And what I love about it, it's not about an interracial couple, but you see it. And I never saw that growing up.
Yeah.
So when Bonnie and Apple asked me to be the father of this interracial relationship, something I never saw growing up, I was like,
And now
head
you're
over heels.
participating in that on television so that someone else can
So
see.
someone else can
Yeah.
see a mixed couple,
Yeah.
so they can feel like they belong, and they can feel that, oh, these problems happen to everybody.
Mm.
You know, like I don't want to give away.
I was going
too
to say, can you talk about the show
yeah,
premise
yeah.
at all?
I'm an ex-husband. But I'm trying to get back in my family's life. And once I get home, I find out in this weird situation that, oh, she's engaged to this dude that's helping me fix the sink. I don't even know if I'm supposed to say that, but whatever. But it's just this weird situation, and it's a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
So I call it more dramedy because the acting's so good in it, and I don't even know about my acting, but I'm talking about everybody else's acting. Like I would sit there and go, wow, I would literally be watching people going, wow, this is pretty good. This is amazing. Like it's so good.
And it's on Apple.
And it's on Apple.
Big time.
I mean,
Michael, big time yo over here.
and if you watch Netflix, I'm on the number one show on Netflix. Is It Cake right now with Mikey Day from SNL. I'm on episode 2, and where they put out like 5 things. 4 of them are cake. I mean, 4 of them are cakes and 1 of them's real, and you got to guess the real item. So they'll put like 4 purses out there.
Okay.
That are cakes, and then 1 real purse, and they put them about 15 feet away from you or 20 feet, and then they light it really good. So I'm a judge in that, the comedian judge. So I controlled who we voted for and stuff like that. So
I didn't know. I haven't watched that show. I've seen it every time I'm watching or on
huge.
Netflix. It pops up, and
It's
I'm
huge.
like, it's always like recommended to me.
And
now that I know episode 2.
Well, maybe that's why they were recommending it to you. They were like, oh, you don't know? Michael Yo is in it. But what's great is Netflix, they got a Instagram handle called Netflix is a Joke.
Yes.
And they have Fortune, and Tom Papa does the morning show, and it holds all their comedy, like stand-up. That's like their comedy division. And I always wanted to be on their radar because my dream is to have a Netflix special. And I feel that this special could have been a Netflix special, but I never pitched it because I wanted to get it. I wanted to do it myself. I wanted that feeling of owning it and doing it myself. But to be on this show and to have Netflix as a joke tag me and then wrote me like, hey, you're really good on the show. Like I'm on their radar now.
Yes.
And that's what means so. Like everything is just beautiful, man. Like I have 3 things. I got my special out, got the Bonnie Hunt show, I got my tour, I got this cake show. Everything's just rolling.
It's just amazing. The last time that you were on this show, we zoomed in with you.
Yes.
And it was post like your recovery from COVID. And just
and it was it was like we got really serious and sad because at that time it was still killing people. And I think the thing we talked about is at that time, the biggest thing I was scared is dying alone. People were dying alone in the hospital at that time through FaceTime.
Yeah.
Through FaceTime. And now, to be on the other side of it, everything's roll. I never thought, that's the name of it. Like, I never thought like I would have all this happening in 2022. Like my special came out March 17th. That's just a couple days ago. Then I get an email from Netflix going, oh, by the way, we're dropping Is It Cake March 18th. And then I know I can't say when the Apple show, but it's soon.
It's all rolling.
It's all rolling. And then, it's crazy.
I'm so happy for you.
I'm so happy.
And I can't wait because you're just going to keep getting more and more famous and I'm just going to be following you around.
No. And then
like,
you're gonna
hi,
move,
Michael, remember me?
and then y'all are gonna move to Vegas, and we'll be neighbors.
And then I'm gonna be like, I'm going to the pool party every single weekend, and be like, don't, you can't do that.
But when you live there, you don't go.
No. Listen, after this past weekend, I was like, I have that in me maybe once a year. I would love to go back to Vegas. I want to take Ember. I'm like, there's so many. When I was going from hotel to hotel, I'm like, Ember would live for this.
They have aquariums. They have all types of stuff.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, I got to go back with her and have a family trip. The trip that I had this weekend, that's a once a year type of situation. That's all.
No, you have to go. And we got to get our kids together.
I know.
My daughter and my son can play with.
They're just so cute. They're so cute. So the last time I was on your podcast, I wanted to ask you, and tell me if you don't want to go here
No,
or
what,
not.
what?
But you and I kind of started to have a conversation about mental health.
Yes.
Are you comfortable kind of talking about that a little bit? Okay.
I like to get the word out there.
Okay. Well, you shared with me that you had been struggling in some ways that you never had been before.
Mental health to me was something I really never understood. I didn't judge it, but when I would hear about it, I go, I don't know. Like I would never be like, it's not real, but I would be like, I don't see how that could happen.
Right.
And then after going through that bad COVID battle, after I got out, the thing that was hard was a lot of people would come up to me and go, God had your back, and then I would see hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people dying from what I survived. And it's just very heavy. And then you go, why did he have my back, but he didn't have these people's backs? And then you get the survivor's remorse. And I'm not a sad guy by any means. I did get to the point where I had to go to my wife and go, today's not a good day.
Yeah. I'm not okay today.
I'm not okay today.
Yeah.
And she made me feel that it was okay to be like that, which is amazing. But after listening, because here's one thing, I didn't understand it, but I do listen to people. I am open to everything.
Sure.
So when I heard that's what you need to do, that's what I did. I went to my wife and go, I'm not okay today. I'm sad. I am sad today and I don't know why. And my wife just gave me space and whatever I needed, she did for me. But yeah, I totally, I get it now. And I don't think I ever would have got it unless that happened to me. So that's why I never judged it. But I was like, well, it doesn't affect me. And this is the world we live in. If it doesn't affect you personally, you really can't understand. And you could have empathy towards it.
Of course.
But you can't understand.
Yeah, you try to hold space for people.
Absolutely.
You try to support the people, but then if it's not your experience, then
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like if it's not close to you, if it's not close to you, then you hold space, but I can't identify. And I was the guy that couldn't identify with any of that.
Yeah.
And now that I hear the talk of mental health so much, my friends used to say, I go to a therapist. And we live in LA. Everybody goes to a therapist.
Yeah, sure.
To me, growing up and up to 5-10 years ago, going to a therapist was weakness. You know what I mean? It's like, why you need to go to a therapist? Like, what's wrong with you? But it wasn't my opinion. That's what you would hear.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? And because it had that type of stigma to it.
Yeah, it was absolutely. I mean, obviously, like LA,
it's a totally different ballgame.
It's a very different energy. But growing up in Orange County, and then specifically like in the space that I grew up in, I had a very similar experience where it was like therapy. Like, what's wrong with you?
Exactly.
Like there was so much judgment. Like no one went to a therapist. I remember the first time that I was like, I'm going to start going to therapy. And I'm like, the way that people reacted to this, like, it was wild.
I remember my friend told me he was going to therapy, and I was like, why? You seem fine.
Right.
And he goes, well, I'm not. And then he goes, you should go. I go, I don't need therapy, right? And he goes, oh no, it's just like working out for your mind. You go to gym, right? I go, yeah. He goes, well, it's just, working out for your mind. And in my mind, I couldn't grasp that concept at all. I was like, well, my mind's fine, And then it takes something in your life. Like I said, I never even thought about that therapy. But even after going this, I never went to therapy because I knew how to handle it because now people talk about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's way more conversations happening. And then even still, at this point, I would imagine, I don't want to speak for you, but now if you were to get to a space in the future in your life where you were like, oh, I'm really not doing well, then you're like, no, I then know that this is an option
and
for me.
There's no shame.
There's no shame in it. Right.
Like I have hundreds of friends I could call and they'd be like, here's mine.
Sure.
Here's mine. Yeah. I mean, I would have a Rolodex of numbers. So now I feel that since mental health is talked about so much, it's not hard to get help and it's not shameful to get help. Where, when I was growing up, like something was wrong with you. Because I think a lot of people connect mental health to what they see in movies as a person just going crazy. Mental health goes along with crazy. I think that's how people see it.
Sure.
If you have mental health problems, you're crazy.
Right.
And now you're learning, oh no, you could have mental health issues, but be a solid person. But that just needs help here and there.
And then even if there is a big struggle, you're like, well, there's this to help
Absolutely.
fix and to help support and all of that.
And everyone should hold space for them. Everybody shouldn't judge, because you don't know the shoes that each person walks in.
But that's the thing about social media too, right? I feel like what's so then tough about social media is because we now have access to see pieces of everybody's life.
Yeah.
There's this thing, and it makes sense psychologically, but there's this thing like we feel like we know everyone, and we feel like, whether it be a famous person or whether it be even a friend of ours. Like, I'm like, I can look at one of my friends' Instagrams and be like, oh, I haven't talked to her for like a few weeks, but look at what she's posting. She seems happy. She's all good, and not know anything that's happening behind the scenes, and with her personal life. It's like, I know for myself, when I'm struggling in general, I try to be pretty open, like on the podcast, like I'll try to be honest about it. Not constantly, because I don't want to come on every week and be like, well, here I am again. In a pit of depression. Like, I'm not going to, I don't want to bring that energy always to the podcast. But as far as social media goes, I'm like, it's not a place where I necessarily feel, I try to be transparent, but I'm also don't feel comfortable just sitting on social media, at least for me, and posting that. I think there are accounts where people do that, and I think it's so powerful. I'm like, but there's a boundary for myself personally that I put up where I'm like, I'm not going to be doing that constantly. I'm just going to show these certain moments in my life, just tiny little moments. But, I know for myself, I do it constantly with friends of mine where I'm not checking in on them because I see their social media and I assume they're okay because they seem to be posting happy things.
I've gotten phone calls from my friends that go, oh my God, I know we haven't talked in a while, but everything's great with your life, right?
And you're like, you haven't asked.
But because they see the
Sure.
social media, like you said, it's just reaffirming what you just said. We feel what social media has caused is disconnect from people because that person is giving you the life they want you to see, not the life that's really happening. Because we'll post beautiful pictures with our kids, but you won't see the ones where my son is not listening to me. And I'm like, hey, because the photo would be like me, like that. And my son would be like, like that would be the real photo.
Exactly. No, it's so relatable. Like, yeah, I'm posting the video of Ember and me like dancing around having fun. I'm like, cut to like an hour later. And it can be in the same hour because life is dynamic. Me in the bathroom crying because I'm like, I don't know how to solve this situation with what she just asked me. What am I supposed to do? Her teacher called. Like, I mean, it's
I'll make it simpler than that. I'll post a picture of my son at a public bouncy house.
Yeah.
I'm not showing you the picture 2 hours later when I'm trying to drag him off of it, and he's crying and kicking and screaming, and I'm holding him like this, walking him to the car, and I have to literally carry him, and he's like, because he wants to stay in the bouncy house.
And you're going to post and you're going to be like, great day at the bounce house.
Yeah,
but the thing is, it's like there was a part of it that was a wonderful day, but there was also a bad part.
I really want to post all negative stuff. Like me, instead of the negative where I'm carrying like son's acting up.
You're just like, you have two Instagram accounts. One is the happy side. One is the fully transparent side. Exactly.
The real yo. That would be great, actually.
That is a good idea. That would be
just
fun.
me like waking up just ugly in the morning. Like,
just post like
I'll have the glamorous one. Yeah,
just like me like post a fight with Evans and just be like, didn't sleep last night because we fought until 3 a.m. Like,
that would be huge.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. Absolutely. That's a great idea, actually. I couldn't handle 2 accounts, but that's what work. People want. People want to see, people want to post the great things, but they never literally a minute later, it could be awful.
Yeah.
So,
but that's just a good reminder for myself. Cause like I'm saying, like touching base with someone like you, and we had this conversation, like obviously, I see your Instagram and I'm like, oh, it's like, it's great things, it's success, it's amazing, which is, it's amazing. But then I'm like, I got a real friend behind this account. And just because I'm seeing that doesn't mean that I don't know everything that's going on in my real friend's life, and I can't make assumptions.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, everything is great right now. Yes. The only thing I'm struggling with right now is, and it's a champagne problem, it's just the work is so much, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
I'm so tired.
Oh, that's very real.
But I also know I'm busting my ass now because you never know how long the opportunities are going to stick around. it's a very short window.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that is an interesting concept.
So a short window.
There's not, I mean, there's a few jobs out there like that. There's a variety of jobs, obviously, like, you know, you can't do certain jobs that have like a certain level of activity your entire life.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the entertainment industry, it's like when it happens, you got to go for it because you're like, even if you have a long lasting career, it typically will only last for however long. So you're like, I got to really optimize.
And that's what I love about stand up is the people I respect, it's taken them 20, 30 years to, I don't have that time because I started so late.
Yeah.
So I'm busting my butt so I can do it in like, try to do it in like half the time so I could actually enjoy my life. But what I love about stand up compared to any other industry is once they're your fans, you'll have them for life. They'll come to your shows for life. And everything I do, I told Bonnie this. I said, everything I do moving forward is for stand-up. When I do this show for Bonnie and Apple, hopefully that people watch that show goes, oh, he's a great actor. I want to go see him do stand-up. When I do this podcast, hopefully people go, oh man, I want to see him do stand-up.
Right.
Everything I do promotes stand-up now. Because that's the end goal. Everything else is great, but those things go away. Stand-up is something that once you get your audience, like Joe Coy will never be broke for the rest of his life. Whoever, big stand-up comedians, even just middle comedians, they will be able to eat for the rest of their life because they have their audience.
Yeah.
You know?
You have forever fans.
Forever fans. And and no one can control your money. When I want to make money in stand-up, I go out. If I don't, I stay in.
Right. And I will say this, something that boggles my mind about stand-up, and I didn't know this until I moved to Los Angeles and started like regularly going and seeing shows at the Comedy Store, at the Laugh Factory or whatever. I was like, oh my God, the most successful comedians on the planet are here every night.
That's what it is.
And it was blowing my mind. I'm like, oh my God, you have so much money, so much success, you're so busy, and yet you're here still every single night in front of an audience, like crafting. And then, you know, that's the successful ones. The people who are like trying to work their way up, you're like 3 shows a night, 7 days a week. The amount of time and dedication is truly incredible, like mind-blowing to me.
I honestly work 7 nights a week because I know this club at the Comedy Cellar in Las Vegas, big shout outs to Esty and Liz, they gave me this huge opportunity to be able to go up every night. So my wife but the thing is, my wife is supportive of it. You know, my wife is like, hey, this is our future.
Which is so amazing to have a partnership where you're each other's support.
Yeah, this is our future. Go get it. Go get it. Because, you know, they could be, Esty could call me next week and go, you know what? Instead of every night, we're going to put you on once a month. So you just don't know. So I'm taking it full advantage of everything.
You don't know. Yeah. I will say on a personal note, I do obviously I miss you being gone because I don't see you as much. But on a personal note, at like the Comedy Store, Broads, I will tell you this, I miss Michael being gone because I would pop by the Comedy Store and you're the most encouraging man on the planet. The level of gassing me up when I'd like be in the hallway and like a comedian that I love would walk by. Yeah. Michael would grab me and be like, this is Jess, she's amazing. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yes, yeah. It's all about spreading love.
So kind. It would just make me feel so wonderful. And I would just walk through the halls and be like, yeah, Michael's my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, what I love about the Comedy Store, all the comics, once you get in, like it's all respect. Everybody has each other's back, you know, once you break in. And that's what I love about the Comedy Store. That's what I love about all the clubs in LA. And there's not many people that do it in the world that can do it well. You know, and that's
who can do it and do it funny.
Yeah, and that can make a career out of it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a beautiful thing that I'm becoming one of those people that can do it. And that's what's so great. It's fulfilling my dream. You know, I've always wanted to control my own destiny. And I think I've said this with you before. Comedy, stand-up is just you stripped down. Yeah. If they like it, it's you. If they don't, it's you.
Yeah.
And that's what's so great about it. You control it. And I've been to so many castings where at the end of the day, you lost out on 4 castings. And then you go to the store or you go to the Improv or Laugh Factory and you get 300 to 400 yeses. Like, oh, you do have value. You just made us laugh for 20 minutes. it's an outlet that you feel worthy that
Yeah.
you should be there.
Talent affirmed.
A talent affirmed. Where I feel bad for people that are in the industry that can't get that. Just so they would have just been 4 no's that day,
Right,
and they
where
would have
it's
sat
just
on that.
acting like you're just casting, and it's just no,
And it's no, and they have to sit on that. Where a stand-up comic can get those no's, but get the yes at night and go, okay, these casting people just haven't caught up yet. Because real people like me, you know, and that's how I always thought about it. So if I had a bad day at casting, I'd call up a club.
You're like, I'm going.
I'm going. I need some yeses. I need some yeses. I need some positive energy.
So I don't even, you know what? I'm just going to say this to you because I'm going to put this out there and then you're going to hold me to this and I'm scared, but I'm going to do it.
No, do it. You're going to do stand up?
Okay. Well, so this year, 2022, I said that what I really wanted to do was try things that I never would try before and just try it. And Becca's first thing to me, okay, I'm going to dare you to go up on an open mic and do stand up. And I'm like, fine, I'll try it. And I'm so scared.
Oh,
but
already got it. Are you going to do it with me or Craig? Are you going to do it with me or Craig?
No.
Oh, I got to go to airport too. I gotta go.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. No. I'm not. I am not going up before you or Craig before you guys crush.
No, you do.
I was more like I'll do my little 3 minutes to you alone, and you tell me what to change.
So the Broads. This is what we're doing. They're opening up the Pasadena Ice House in a couple months. It's right down the street.
Yeah, but that's a nice club.
No. But I'm gonna do a show there because they already asked me to do a show. It'll be like 250 people in there. And they're the nicest audience in the world. They're very supportive. Before you go on, we will tell the crowd this is her first time up. This is a dream of hers. She's trying to fulfill.
It's not a dream of hers.
She has to fulfill a goal. And you will go up. Because let me tell you something. I did this with my other friend.
Oh, God.
And they loved it. They loved it because the crowd was so giving. So we're doing this, and we're not doing it small. We're going to do it, and we're going to tape it, and you're going to play it on the Broads, and they're going to hear you live. Well, not live. They'll hear it on the... It's going to happen. Already, it's going to be awesome. And you'll get to invite some people out, to the club.
Oh.
We'll have a date. Listen to me.
You're telling me I should invite friends to watch this train
We're
wreck?
going to make a date, and you'll have a couple months to get ready. So this is going to happen, and it's going to be amazing.
Literally already hear Craig's laughing in the back as I absolutely bomb. That high-pitched laugh in the back, just losing it as I'm just tanking.
No, so it's happening. But I got to go to the airport.
Okay, I love you so
sorry.
much.
I'm sorry.
No, are you kidding me? You can't miss your flight. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
I so appreciate you co-hosting with me. Broads, in the episode notes, Michael's stand-up special. You have to check it out.
Yes,
The link is in that, and all of his other, all the podcast, the Yo Show, Insta, all of that.
And I'm launching a new podcast I will tell you about next time.
Okay, give me the tea, and then
I will.
You know.
I will.
All
It's
right,
gonna be
bros.
great.
We'll chat soon.
Okay.